I've got to say that I'm not easily turned away from something new in VR. There are so many unexplored types of games in virtual reality that even a half-decent version of something that's new to VR is generally just an awesome experience just because it's in VR. Now, even if I personally have some complaints about whatever that new thing may be, like in my Cities VR video, I'll still usually end up playing it a ton and enjoying myself immensely. There's just not a whole lot of options in VR right now, and well, I'm a huge fanboy, I'll admit it. As far as zombie survival in VR, there's already Pavlov's Zombie Survival, but that's really just a direct port of Nazi zombies from the Call of Duty franchise. Now, if you're thinking about vanilla Pavlov zombies, that's just so underdone and incomplete that it doesn't really count. Contractor Zombies was going to be the first zombies built for VR in a VR game. It was going to be something grand and new from a studio whose previous updates to this game had all been insanely good. We got custom maps, we got the ability to slide, we got new textures for everything, just all fantastic updates. So I had high hopes for Zombies and Contractors. It's just a real shame it turned out to be terrible.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
Let's start with the most obvious thing. The zombies just look terrible. The animations are all janky and weird, and they're constantly doing this over-animated sort of dancing with their arms that just makes them look silly. They don't shamble and they don't run, they just kind of flail their arms as they power walk towards you, like they're swimming through quicksand or something. And their legs look like they're sliding over the ground more than walking. Just look at them, for Christ's sakes. Not to mention that there's very little variance in the character models of these zombies. The same few variations will come at you over and over again with a different colored shirt. Hair guy, messed up face guy, big bald dude, occasional fat dude, over and over and over again. You start to recognize all of them pretty quickly. Look at a clip of the Contractor zombies and then compare that to the Call of Duty Nazi zombies. The Nazi zombies have just so much flavor to them. They move in a variety of interesting zombie-like fashions, with some damn character to them, and they make noise. They sound and they look like zombies. They don't look alive, but at least they seem animated. When the Contractor zombies get close to attack you, they don't even really make a chomping noise, or a roar, or a screech, or anything alarming. So then you have to immediately run away and reposition. There's not really a sense of alarm to when they bite you or anything like that. You don't think, oh, I should get out of the way. You just kind of slowly realize, oh, my health percentage is going down. It's just, there's a real absence of good sound design to the zombies. Anyway, while we're on the topic of having to constantly reposition, let's talk about that. You will have to constantly reposition in Contractor Zombies, and not for the right reasons. I hope you really love constantly reloading while on the run, because you never get a chance to just stand your damn ground and run the zombies through a well-planned choke point. Outside of the early rounds, there will always be enough zombie spawns going on that some of them will inevitably spawn behind you without you even realizing it. Maybe there's some sort of secret awesome camping spot that I just haven't found through all the rounds that I've played. But the options so far seem like it's either you stand in a corner with nowhere to run if you get overwhelmed, or zombies will spawn behind you and you won't notice it. Instead, one of them will usually start attacking you from behind without you even realizing they were there, so you just need to go through the motions of repositioning and getting them in front of you. What makes this so crappy and unengaging is that this means there's really no reason to think tactically about the map and the obstacles in it. As long as you have a place to run away to, then you will be fine, as long as you don't get bitten one too many times before you run. There's no funneling zombies into choke points or traps. There's not even any knowing where they will spawn. Even just run and gun shooting in this fashion, I mean, it can be interesting, but unless you are constantly looking over your shoulder every couple of seconds, which by the way in VR makes aiming impossible, then you have literally no forewarning of a zombie coming behind you. Since they can just pop into existence anywhere, and don't even make any noise to alert you to the fact that they're behind you, a zombie could be basically anywhere you aren't looking at basically any time. So this means you can't plan ahead and then time when they're coming up from behind you and then realize, oh god, they're right behind me, I should run now, and then make your move. You just kind of have to wait until they get at you. Also, after playing enough, you will inevitably spot zombies popping into existence out of nowhere. They're probably designed to spawn in behind you or right around a corner in front of you so that you don't see them pop into existence, basically wherever you aren't looking. But if you turn quickly enough, you can see them, plain as day, just appearing. What this creates is a situation where you have no idea where the zombies might come from, and so no way to plan how to deal with them. This is just a shooting gallery where you shoot, run, with no real thinking, over and over again in circular patterns. Speaking of patterns, let's talk about the progression systems in this game mode. Just like in previous Contractors survival, there's a system of perks and equipment. You get 2 perk points around, and you get money depending on how many times you shot or killed a zombie. Now I'll put a little disclaimer here by saying that these problems are largely inherited from the previous Contractor survival mode, which has the exact same mechanics, but you can tell that they've all been rebalanced and reworked for the zombies mode. That means that there was a chance to do something about these balancing issues before release. For instance, you would be absolutely crazy to not go through the yellow tree. It has extremely good benefits that literally every player would benefit from. From a straight up 30% money boost on each kill to a 1% damage increase every $500 you gain, up to 70%. So basically, a long-term investment toward a whopping 70% damage increase. Nobody, no matter what other perks they chose or what weapons they chose, would not benefit from this tree immensely. So the yellow tree just fails to be a choice and just ends up being something you inevitably need to invest in sooner rather than later. Not to is just irresponsible and will lead to you losing. As for the other 2 trees, there's really not a whole lot of choice there either. You will have to take abilities in the red tree. There's no option around it. Without the damage boosts that they provide, even the 70% increase from the yellow tree alone will end up not being enough in the later rounds. You will end up firing insane amounts of bullets into zombies while doing practically no damage. I've had to refill my entire storage of magazines twice during some of the later rounds because I didn't take enough red perks. At the very least, you need to invest in the flat damage bonus at the bottom and the headshot bonus. So again, investing in the red tree is not a choice, but a requirement. The only real choice here is the green tree. It generally makes you harder to kill. Invest in the green tree so that you can take a little more damage without dying, or spend those points on the things that you will have to get in order to get them a little sooner. You're honestly just better off constantly being on the run and never spending those points in green at all, but choosing to spend a few points earlier on in the green tree, for those who are a little more risk averse, can allow you to make some more mistakes before dying. But you can't invest only points into the green tree and try to become some sort of tank, because you'll just run out of bullets. Also, there are these hybrid abilities between the trees. They generally suck and are kind of pointless. The one redeeming part of this game mode are the guns that you get to buy. There's a great variety, and each path in the tree has a theme to it. The path on the top leans on guns that fire fewer bullets that do a ton of damage each. The path below that leans on guns that just spray a ton of bullets that don't do a ton of damage. It's fun to choose which gun to go for next. Now, it would be nice if you could have 2 big SMG or rifle level guns at the same time, instead of just one big gun and a little pistol. There are way more choices for larger firearms than there are for pistols here. Some of the paths you can go through the gun trees don't even have a pistol on them. Having the choice of which gun to get is nice, but not even that is completely well implemented. That's because some of the guns you can choose with no forewarning, are traps. Each gun takes a long time to save up for, and then when you buy one, you're going to be stuck with it for a while. For instance, check out the Deagle tree on the top. You can get that gun super early on, and it does good damage for a very long time. That's assuming you're taking the damage perks that you have to take, of course. Now take the M1A, which you can get right after the Deagle. It's a marksman's rifle that fires a super big cartridge, way bigger than a Deagle does. Check it out in the zombie mode. It does practically no damage at all, despite being a semi-automatic rifle. Now you can tell some balancing was done for this mode. I mean, they changed the whole gun and perk tree around from regular survival, but did this get released in a hurry? Was there still work to be done on this? At times this all feels sort of halfway there with balance, or halfway there with QA, or halfway there with implementation even. Now, back to the M1A, it's absolutely horrible. You will end up just using the Deagle instead, and that's one of the better scenarios where you at least have a good pistol that you bought to fall back on. If you get a crappy gun, and you're still using the starting pistol as your backup, well then your whole round's over. You might as well just start over at that point, because even if you make it through, you're not going to have fun doing it, because it feels like you're shooting peas the whole time, and you're just going to be running in circles even more than you would otherwise. So, some of these guns are traps, and you won't know that you shouldn't get them until you get them, and then you have to start over because they're terrible. Over time, considering that you even bother to put enough time into this, you will inevitably learn which guns are best, just like you learn which perks are best. And that means that at the end of the day, there's not really any interesting choices here. Just traps that you either fall into or you don't fall into, so that you can play over again and then not fall into those traps. Other than that, the gameplay doesn't change much. Rinse and repeat the same rounds over and over again. The types of zombies, or the number of them, doesn't change. Even the placement of the armory and perk locations each round doesn't change. There's only one map, and it's exactly the same every time. And you will inevitably realize that you should be doing the same thing every time in order to get further. Or your chances of surviving to later rounds goes just way down. Mostly because if you take the wrong perks or buy the wrong gun, you won't do enough damage to cut through the zombies. So you end up doing the same thing over and over and over again, which is just boring. Maybe if the process of fighting these zombies was fun, then Contractor zombies could remain interesting. But shooting the zombies isn't even fun. It's just a repetitive positioning fest that has no tension once you get good at it in a few rounds. It's just running in circles, popping off a couple rounds, running again. There are no real build choices to make, and no real tactical choices to make during the middle of each round. There's no chances to take here at all. Just boredom.